Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we're going to be talking about Quant Network, aka QNT, so let's just dive in. And let's start off with a few things. So one, I am recording this a little bit ahead of time just because I am in the middle of traveling for work. So I do apologize for that, but I wanted to give you guys my update on this market. I'm going to update you guys short term as well as the long term because I think that a lot of people kind of get confused when I talk about QNT and I talk in a bearish sense on it because I'm so bullish on QNT long term that some people get confused on how I could be bearish short term on these tokens. I see it all the time. I was calling for QNT to drop for a little bit of time. And a lot of people were like, dude, what are you talking about? You were so bullish on QNT, now you are so bearish. Like, what changed? Like, what happened? Listen, like I said, this market doesn't it doesn't care about fundamentals. It doesn't care about what you want to see, what you want it to do, or anything like that. QNT is down here at number 32 on the 7-day span. It's down about almost 20%. It's up about 7.87% today because of the CPI report, which, again, like I said, I am recording this a little bit ahead of time. It's like like right now, it's almost 1 p.m. EST. So we are, like, this is going to go live tomorrow because I'm not going to be available tomorrow. But I want to give you guys my update on things that we have seen so far today that really kind of painted a little bit of a picture on where things could be headed going forward. So here's the video that I uploaded. This was a week ago, as I am making this video now. It's 1 week ago today. I mentioned a possibility of a 50% plus correction on QNT. At the time, we were trading at $160. No, this is not a told you so moment or ego nonsense. This is the idea that no one thought it was possible. Everyone was blinded by emotions. And listen, I'm not sitting here to say, hey, I told you guys that QNT was going to drop, so there you go. I told you so. Hey, you should have listened to me. No, I don't care about doing things like that. Whenever I talk about a possibility like this, it's to get you prepared for what could happen. It doesn't mean that you have to sell your tokens to buy the dip. In fact, I haven't sold any of my QNT. I'm still holding my QNT. It's one of my biggest holdings, and it will always be one of my biggest holdings because I believe in it long term. But a lot of people will get mad when I say QNT can drop down still because, again, they don't want it to. And I get that. I understand that. But you got to remember that this market doesn't care about what anybody wants. And yes, that means me wanting $60 to $80 to be seen. It also means me wanting $1,000 to $2,000 being seen. But when we look at this, I said there is no point just blindly jumping into buys no matter how amazing fundamentals are. This includes QNT. In my opinion, I still believe $60 to $80 will be seen. This price action could drag and alts could continue to just slide. You could DCA, but don't force buys. Be patient. And this is because I've seen so many people buying the last couple days and averaging in. And hey, is it a great time to DCA? It's hard to say on some of these assets. In my opinion, I do believe that QNT, at $100 is a great DCA option. But we have jumped quite a bit since those prices were seen. I do have on this chart, I have the volume profile, I have the volume as well as the on balance volume, and then I do have the EMA set up. So first off, what I want to address is the fact that QNT has regained on the 3-day span the 200 and the 50-day, 3-day EMA, which is that orange line and the blue line there, and it has been sitting on it for a little bit of time now after reclaiming it. It did wick down to a nice demand area, which I do have labeled on the chart here. And you can see that there is quite a bit of volume here in terms of buy volume on the volume profile, which is pretty nice. And then we also see a nice demand zone down here forming, which this is at like 40 some dollars. Very interesting. And we also have my zone that I'm looking at, which is like $61 to $70. Quite a bit of volume there, honestly. I'm going to be completely honest with all of you. A lot of my buys are down here right now in terms of my buy orders. But the reason why I always say, like, when you look at things like today, with a lot of volume in the market kind of pushing things up with the CPI print, the one thing that I always acknowledge, especially on tokens like QNT, is volume in. On balance volume right now on QNT is trash. Look at it. It's declining. It topped back in October, October 19th to be specific. I mentioned this. I mentioned this when I seen that it was going to most likely fall. I seen that we were gripping onto this 157 area for a major support zone, and once we lost it, it was very concerning. Look at what ended up happening. We dropped. Now, from my video where I was talking to you guys about this possible 50% correction, we were trading at about $160. It came down about 35%. A 50% correction would bring it down to about 70, almost, it's like $80 exact. Now, what I want to say also is the fact that everyone on Twitter was erupting with a massive amount of bullish tweets saying, we're going to the moon because we broke out of $200 and we went to like 227. We are now down, well, I should say we were down about 53%. We're still down about 42% from those areas up here, and I'm sure that a lot of individuals were buying up here as well, which is, to me, pretty concerning. Now, also, a lot of this volume that we do see on this volume profile could also be sell volume. I don't believe that a lot of it, what we see up here, is buy volume at all. Most of this is most likely sell volume, which is at around like 140. There's not like a deep amount of sell volume up there, but there's a ton of buy volume down here still in this demand zone. With on-balance volume kind of declining, with volume itself declining, and on the daily, we do see a slight spike on-balance volume, but it's nothing too crazy to me. We also see RSI kind of oversold, so this little bit of a jump was expected. But with the CPI report, I think that was a great area to look at, to really kind of see if you can get into a nice long position down here just to kind of ride this up and take your profits. But hey, it is what it is. It's kind of too late to do that now. But one thing that I am looking at is the EMAs on the daily. So all of these daily EMAs, we reclaimed at the current moment the 200 daily EMA, but what I'm looking at are those 3 EMAs up there at about the 10, 20, and the 50. It's going to be concerning to look at those and see, okay, where is the resistance? QNT Bitcoin price chart as well, by the way, just to give you guys a quick insight on that. Again, a lot of demand down there at around roughly the 4,773 sat level. There's not a lot of volume at all here. Again, this gives you a little bit of an insight on where the demand channel is on the Bitcoin price chart for QNT. Did we bottom out on this demand zone going all the way back to September of 2022? I highly doubt it. There's quite a bit of support here, but we already lost key crucial areas. We are still hitting resistance on the EMAs, so I'm watching for further continuation downward. I'm looking at the 200 daily EMA down here at about 5,528 sats, which could easily push QNT much lower. Now, one thing that I have been looking at and really kind of watching for is the total. So here's the total market cap of crypto. So you do see the deep wick down. I mean, this thing came down to $738 billion. $200 billion wiped out in 24 hours in crypto. Probably one of the most bearish events in history of crypto so far. And I'm comparing this to many other things as well. Like, this entire year has been one massive bearish year for crypto, and probably one of the biggest ones. I would argue that the FTX situation was more bearish than March of 2020, and I even said this over on Twitter. But yeah, so far we regained the nice fib level and the demand channel on the 618, which I like to see. Definitely going to continue to watch this to see if we are going to come back down to about the 0.5 fib level at about $574 billion. Would be interesting to see that, retest it, because this is, a yearly support zone. I wouldn't even say that that's the yearly support. It's around like roughly $600 billion as the weekly support. Now, so far, if we go off of the all-time highs up here, the entire market is down still at the prices that we have today at this fib level. They're down about like 72%. This candle wick was about 75%. If we do come back down to that yearly low, this would be about 80%. Going off of the past previous cycles, I'm only sharing this with you guys, by the way, just to kind of give you guys a quick insight on, how painful this entire situation could still continue to get. So this was about an 88% drop in the market in terms of market capitalization. If we do continue to fall that much, 88% would bring us down, and I know that this is going to sound crazy to most people, but about $350 billion in market cap. Now, is this going to happen? Most likely not. I would argue that we probably bottom out beforehand. We'll probably bottom out at about like $400 billion. We could already have seen our bottom, by the way. I know a lot of people have been asking me, like, where do you see it fully bottom out? I'm not going to give you guys my insight on that. Really, it's all up to what Bitcoin's going to do, but, we could still see pain down to like 80 some percent, which would be at $574. I'm going to see the yearly support zones, try to see if they hold. But I'm going to continue to watch these things. I still have been averaging in, by the way. QNT, I have not bought QNT at all. Just to give you guys a quick insight, I have not bought QNT. But one thing is, certain. Listen, if you wanted to have a DCA option, if you wanted to have an area where you feel comfortable averaging in, maybe now is the time. I mean, listen, all media has been extremely bearish so far. I mean, CNBC talking about it. You've seen CoinDesk, Forbes, American Banker, Market Watch. I mean, every single major outlet is talking about this bearish event around crypto and talking about things that are happening around this space. So when we really kind of look at things happening around this entire sector, this is one of the most bearish events around this entire space. Very similar to March of 2020, by the way, where we did have these massive deep wicks, but during this time, and this is on a downward trend, by the way, already. During this time, though, we dropped down about 65%. Going off of the slight, I mean, it's hard to say where exactly we can kind of go off of. I mean, we can go off of this wick here. This was about a 37%. If we're going off of this little high here, this was about 65%. And off of the topping point, this is still only 75%. I'm not saying that it's only 75%. I'm just saying, like, this is not too crazy going off of the high. When we look back here at the high, I mean, you could argue that 88% to 85% would be the area that we are actually kind of looking at, which, like I said, would still bring us down to about like the 0.5 fib level, or even going all the way back to, what date is this? November of 2020, where we kind of came down to wick at about like $480 billion in market capitalization. So there still could be pain, but I feel comfortable around this area because we are nearing our bottom. Our bottom is nearing, in for Bitcoin and for most of this market. Do I think that QNT has fully bottomed out? We have resistance here. This is a cautionary, chart to me. I think that even the QNT USD chart is still very cautious. I mean, I'm not going to get bullish until we see on balance volume gaining traction. Because even on the weekly, like we've been looking at the weekly, like the weekly looks terrible. First off, weekly, you could see the resistance up there, which, I mean, like this was support. We were holding on to support, and now it is resistance. The weekly came down to test this demand channel, but I still think that when we look at QNT on the weekly, on the daily, on the 3-day, things still look pretty bearish. And I think things are going to be bearish for a little bit of time here. I think that we should be patient. You could average in. Sure, go ahead, do whatever you want to do. I'm not going to give you guys financial advice. I'm not going to tell you what to do specifically. But all I know is that I'm letting things cool down because we don't know what's going to happen continuing into the later days of this week. Today is officially Friday, so we are ushering into the weekend. And when we look at the weekend, usually the weekend is very volatile, so please be aware of that. Next week is going to give us a little bit of a better story once we do see indices opening. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the rest of this month. But like I said in many videos before, I do believe that our bottom will be in November or December, and I'm staying true to that. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, to notifications on. If you guys want more free content, you guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. This is up to you all. Have a beautiful day, beautiful night, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world. This has been Nick. Peace out, guys.